Hey friends, Shawn here with Manly Made Minute and welcome back to my channel. Today we're just doing a real simple card for you, bringing some basics in, and I'm doing a technique that I actually like to do because it's a nice focal point on a card and because the technique itself is super easy. So we're going into spring. And I've seen some butterflies flying around in my backyard, and it is time to bring out a butterfly stamp set and an embossing folder. So I want to just do a really simple card with some ink blending, nothing new, nothing fancy, and then some little bit of watercoloring with some embossing. And just make this card back to the basics and super easy. So before I go down to my down camera, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Would love to have you follow me here on Instagram at Manly Made Minute, as well as YouTube here on my YouTube channel. So let's head down to the down camera and let's just show you the basics, and let's just make a really simple, fun, beautiful butterfly card. All right, let me switch down to my table cam. All right, what I'm going to do today, we're going to use this Hero Arts butterfly stamp set. This one is just New Day butterflies. Very simple. This did not come with dies that I had purchased. I don't know if it does or not. And lots of space on these to color, to watercolor. You could ink blend these. We're going to do a little heat embossing in just nice black so I can make these colors pop off the page. And then really simple watercoloring, nothing too technical. Then I just wanted to do an ink blended focal point background. So I've got my card base here at 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And I have some masking stencils. I've got the ovals and I've got rectangles. This is from Impression Obsession. They're no longer in business, and they had amazing stencils. And this was one of my stencil sets that I had. These ovals are all in different sizes. I came with the positive and the negative. I'm using the largest because I just want a good focal point for my embossing folder as well. What I did is I set this on my sticky mat. Then I took, and there's just a little etched A2 size square to center this. So I centered that around my card base, and then I just push that down so it holds it nice and secure. We're going to do just some pinks, some teals, and a purple, and do some ink blending, some pink, teal, and purple to the bottom. And then we're going to emboss these, watercolor these, and set them on my focal point after I emboss this. The embossing folder I'm using is this Floral embossing folder, and I thought that would look great for the butterflies. It does have a die cut that cuts out the flower. Probably not going to cut that out today, but this one's just called Dandy Floral by Simon Says Stamp. Have not used this one since I bought it, and I thought this was perfect with that floral to throw the butterflies on. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the middle with my teal. So I'm using Catherine Pooler, All That Jazz, puckered up, and then my purple is going to be crushed violet. I'm going to load up, and I'm not going to use a ton of pressure. And I want this going kind of at a diagonal. So I'm going to unload and then reload as I need to. And I'm just going to start my motion and go basically from one edge to the other edge or corner. If you want to call it a corner where it rounds on that oval, whichever you want to call it. Really light because I don't want this too heavy. And I really want a nice, soft, ombre kind of feel once I color this out, okay? So again, I'm nothing too technical on this card. Just a little video to kind of throw something at you, make something kind of fun, maybe inspire you to get out the butterflies and try something different with the butterflies. I'm doing some watercoloring. I could ink blend them. I could do all kinds of stuff. I've been doing a ton of colored pencils and Gamsol lately with other projects, and I was kind of colored penciled out at the moment. So I debated on just embossing and doing some ink blending on them or some markers, but I thought it'd be fun just to do a nice soft watercolor. Pardon my scratchy throat. My allergies and dry throat is kind of in full blown here. Struggling. The struggle is real lately here with the allergies. So pine pollen season is done finally, I think, here in Atlanta, and it was the worst it's been in years, they said. So it's been kind of crazy. All right, nice and soft, okay? I'm going to leave it there. Now I'm going to switch to my lighter, and I'm going to keep going back over with my teal to blend those two out. And you'll see what I mean by that. And I do that a lot with my colors when I'm blending, as I go back to the first and reblend as my final blend. Same, no pressure here. Just a nice, soft, no pressure. Keep that brush moving and let the ink work off the brush onto the paper. Don't push it into the paper, just let it work onto the paper to keep these ombres nice and soft. So essentially I'm letting the bristles and the ink do the work, not my hand and the pressure do the work, if that makes any sense. Give that one more kind of load up here. I just want to work that down now into the teal, and you'll see it kind of get a little purpley, and that's what you want. You just want that nice, soft ombre to happen. That looks fantastic. Now I'm going to take my teal again, and I'm going to work back over that to soften that back out a little bit. It'll help soften that line down. And then I can work that back over the pink just a little bit to widen that band and soften the edge of that band. All right, now I'm going to start with my purple. And I'll repeat the same process. Light, work it up and over that teal, and then I'll take that teal back over the purple. And I like to finish that. I feel like if you're one for detail, as you're blending that final color back over, with your eyes, kind of watch the ink. You'll be able to see it blend out and soften. You got to be watching for it because it will happen. Trust me, if you've got the eye for it, you'll see it. And it just adds a little bit to that blend when you're trying to soften those edges out. All right, now I'm going to go back over with, I'm going to give that just a little bit kind of right towards the bottom here. A little bit of pressure just to give me a little edge when I lift that up. And you'll see how that edge is just a little bit darker. Now I'm going to take that teal again. I haven't reloaded because I'm just going to work it back over that purple to soften out my edge. Okay. Now I want a little bit more teal to work that down on this side, and then I'm going to work that up over here. That's my edge. That's all I need. Okay? All right. That's it. That's your background besides embossing it, right? I also just decided to do this card today just because I haven't just ink blended, like I just call it normal ink blended, something like this for a background for quite some time. I've been doing it more intricate kind of stuff, and my designs have been a little bit more entailed, and I'm just like, I want to do just a simple card. Like, I was craving to do a video, and I just was craving to do a nice simple card. So, all right, let's just peel this back. Here's what I like about these masking stamps too is look at that nice edge that you get from this. What a great hard edge on that, right? Great for silhouette stamping. Great for what I'm going to do is just emboss over this and not do a silhouette. We're just going to emboss it. I'm not going to color over the embossing, over the top edges of the embossing, nothing. I'm just going to emboss. That's it. All right, now make sure you emboss the right direction because I want that to come, for what I want it to come up. I don't want the negative emboss, right? So it's going to go this way so that that goes up. Now I want that flower in there as much as possible. So I'm going to go right up to that edge because it's towards that top edge. And I'll be able to see where that falls once I get this down because you'll see it on the top, like so. And I'm happy with that because I want to keep this all contained so I get as much embossing as possible. Comes off just a tiny bit, but I'm okay with that. It comes off that white just a little bit. All right, let me grab my Big Shot. And we're just going to run this through. Now this is a 3D embossing, so I already know kind of my recipe for how to make this work the best. Take that down. One plate, and the job is done. Oh, nice impression. Peeked on the other side there just without moving it too much, so you see if I needed to run it through. But be careful when you run something through like that a second time, because if it shifts on you, you're going to get a double impression. So be careful not to shift that if you're going to peek. Isn't that fantastic? Would this look good with white over it? Yes, but I just want this nice hard edge. I don't want this to soften down. So this would look great with some green over it and some white over that. So have fun with something like this. But again, the technique is easy, right? Not a hard technique at all. Okay, this is done. I might ink splatter this, but we're gonna hold and resist that urge right now, and we're going to emboss my butterflies. Okay, so let me get out my Versamark, and we're gonna do just simple black embossing powder. All right, so just let me get my little tools out for everything here. And what I like about stuff like this is you could knock this card out in no time. It's so easy and quick to do. And this is why I got this out today, because I was like, I want to do something fun. I don't want to think about it. And I have had this butterfly stamp set sitting in my little side pile to use with some inspiration and when the time rise, but I was like, I knew I'm going to get up butterflies soon, and I wanted to do this one. So I love the Hero Art stamps. I love their designs. This one in particular I love because there is so much space here to color whatever I want to, whatever medium I want to color this with. These would look great with some distress sprays, any medium you want to use with this kind of stuff. All right, I said I'm going to go black. I generally like to do a lot of golds and things like that when I do this kind of stuff with watercolor, but I want to go black. I want these to pop off that background we just created, and I want the watercolor to pop off of this as well. All right, I had already off camera powdered my paper prior to embossing, just to get the static off of there. So that was just pre-done if you were thinking, oh, he didn't do that. But I did do it off camera. Prior to starting. All right. Let's just emboss this. Get your heat gun good and hot. I'm getting in the habit lately of making sure I got a good hot heat gun so I get a nice even melt. The hotter that is, the more even that's going to melt on contact. And it'll melt that embossing powder up much quicker. And it gets less grainy by doing so. You want that melt to happen relatively quick to reduce that graininess in the powder. All right, there we have it. I am not using watercolor paper, by the way, because I'm not going to be doing a ton of blending and things. I'm just going to I wanted to do simple coloring. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit for you all. All right, I got some nice little fine watercolor brushes. I'm using my basic Mei Ling watercolor set that is very well loved, as you can tell. I love the colors of this set on Amazon. Super cheap. I love this set and how it just plays out and works on watercolor paper and everything. So well worth it. And I'll put all the descriptions will be down below for you. All right, we did pink, purples, and things. So we're going to do a little bit of yellow. I'm going to pull some yellow out. I'm going to pull some orange out. Maybe a little yellow orange, or excuse me, red orange. And then we're going to do a little, these little blues and purples in here, I think. Okay? All right. I just want to go simple. So I'm going to get, because it's not watercolor paper, this is going to be very thirsty paper. What I mean by that is you'll see that water just suck right into that paper. Don't be scared. All right, I'm just going to pick up a little bit of my yellow, and I'm just going to paint. I'm just going to paint it in. I'm not worried about getting a blendy kind of something. This is just simple coloring. I just want nice, vibrant colors. I was making some other cards here yesterday that have this very kind of, for one of my design teams, very groovy, very positive sentiments and things. And I got thinking, I need just to do like a happy card, right? Just a little pretty happy card. Just something that speaks spring to me. And now, I could totally bloom this stuff out and do some nice blendy colors and things. Watercolor paper would definitely help with that. So just remember, your medium makes a difference depending on what effect you want to do. So if you are new to watercoloring, I encourage you to play. It is not as hard as what one may think. I've watched a ton of videos from others, and I try stuff that I see. That's all I do, right? And that's what makes it fun for me. All right, we're going to do some, I'm going to work from the tips in on this one. Oops, I'm going to wet that down. I'm going to get this all wet inside here for me. This just helps the color move a little bit on paper when it's a little bit more wet. All right, I'm just going to pull some oranges in. And pull that down. And then I'll do the blue here at the base and pull that inward. Okay, now I'm going to grab some of this blues. I'm going to grab this little deeper blue. Water that down just a little bit on my surface so I get it just a little bit looser kind of color. And pull that up into my orange. And I'm just going along the one edge here, and then you'll see it spider out with that other color. This is the only little spidering I want because I'm melding two colors together here. How easy is that? I mean, come on. It doesn't get any more fun and any easier than that, right? I mean, honestly, I'm like halfway done with this card already when you think about it. All right, I did orange, so we're going to grab that orange again. Pull this orange all around that edge, pull that in like so. Easy. Color between the lines technique. That's it. So all I'm doing is just staying within the walls of my embossing powder. And look at that spider. You can literally watch that, see that spider out once it hits that other color. Love that. Love that it just does the work for you sometimes. And I get that in between green, right? Because blue and orange make green if you know your color wheel at all. Let's just take a tiny bit, because it's wet over here, and And I got a little bit in there. I'm going to just take my little bit of purple, dilute this down just a little bit more. And let's just get a little purple on this guy. Sure, why not? Let's do the body purple. These little bits that have little white specks left, I'm just throwing just a tiny bit of purple in there. Like so. Easy peasy. Doesn't it just get any easier than that? All right. There's butterfly number 1. Let's get a little pink guy in here. My pinks are all shimmer, so I'm going to take my red and my white. I'm going to rinse this off really well. I'm going to scoop up, mix that so it gets wet here. I'm going to scoop up some white and throw it on over here so I can dilute down a little bit of my red to get a nice soft pink. A little soft, kind of creamy pink. Beauteous, beauteous, beauteous. All right, we're going to just color this guy here pink. And then I think I'm going to do a little yellow on the tips of this guy, so it's a little pink and yellow. Okay? All right, let's just go right at the base and throw some pink in there. Again, look at this. My technique is smushing it around. That is my technique on this. That is it. Okay, let's go back and pick up that yellow from before. And dab these together. Because remember that yellow and red make orange if you know your color wheel. And then we're just going to pick some of this up and blend this together. Here's the other thing. If I can encourage you to pick up your watercolors, watercolors are fun because they are, especially on watercolor paper, they are very forgiving. So if you make a mistake, re-wet, sop it back up with a dry brush, and add more color. And add stuff to it. That's what the beauty of them is. They are very forgiving, and it's, as a beginner, I think we get scared to try something new because we don't want the failure of it. But look at that. I'm sorry, I was out of camera. I am so sorry. But you can see I've got the orange in there because that yellow and the red, right? All right, I'm going to just do some blue. On this guy, I'm just going to do some blue and purple. Get a little matchy-matchy to my background. How's that sound? Okay. All right, I'm going to do, let's do the blue here. You know what? I did blue at the base on the other one. So we're going to do the purple at the base on this little guy. Squishy squish, squishy squish. That is it. Okay. Take some of that blue. And then blend these together and make them kind of bloom together. Take a little bit of that purple back and push it back up into that blue. So what am I doing? If you've noticed, similar technique as what I did on that card base, right? I went back to that original to reblend that together. And we'll just give this guy a little color on his body. Like so. Get that little corner of that blue up in there. All right, that's it. That's literally like, that is the technique of my card, y'all. Okay, so let me just wipe this up before I make a mess of myself here and ruin my beautiful artwork. Okay, let me zoom back out a little bit for you. All right, here's my elements. Here's this. We're going to, I am going to splatter this just because I can't resist a little bit of gold and maybe a little bit of black on this. So let's splatter that. I'll fussy cut out those butterflies. And we'll assemble. So before I do that and break away, let's splatter. All right. Not going to wet this at all. I'm going to start with my gold. I'm using a fan brush dipped into this gold that's been diluted pretty good because I need this to be liquidy to kind of fall off that brush. All right, I'm doing light taps because I don't want huge splatters with this. I want just a nice, soft little splatters. I don't want big splatters, and I don't want to line across. And then I'm going to get close so I can get that in the flower just a little bit better. So I get a little bit heavier in that middle of that flower. Love that. Okay, rinsey rinse. And now I'm going to take my black and same technique on the black. And make sure you got it good and wet so it picks up very liquidy on your brush. So it falls off nice and soft and liquidy. Same thing. Very light taps because I just want small dots on this. I want a couple more up in that corner if I can get it to fall in the right spots. Right in my corners here. That's it. I don't want any more than that. I'm happy with that. All right, I'm going to dry this. I'm going to fussy cut those butterflies out, and we're going to assemble this card and be right back. Okay, I have gotten my panel dry from my ink splatter. I have dried and fussy cut out my butterflies, but what I did on the back side, because I'm going to lift these off the page so the wings are bent and not have this plain white, is I actually sprayed this with some Distress Spritz, which is the picked raspberry. And my yellow was, let me just grab that yellow really quick here. I think it was squeezed lemonade, but just let me double check that yellow for you. And I'll have that in the description as well. Let's see, where did I set it? Yeah, I think it was the lemonade. I will put it in the description for you. All right, all we need to do is assemble. I am using some Recollection purple paper that I got at a local craft store that I just love this color, and this whole set came with a ombre of colors. Actually had a teal that would match this beautifully, but when I held this up, the purple just looked much more rich for this particular card. So I went with the purple out of that little trio. Okay. And the matte, I'm doing full. Oh, I think I did. I think I said 5 1/8 by 3 7/8 for my card, but it is not. It is actually 5 1/4 by 4, and then full panel purple base. So I'll hold that over the white so you can kind of see that. All right, we're gonna bend the wings up of this little guy. The two here. I want this one. I did a flat one so I can have him sitting on the flower. So we're gonna throw him on the flower. Like so. Then I'm going to tuck this around the flower, and then this big one here I want at the base. So it kind of goes working from bottom to top, kind of larger to smaller. And I'm going kind of right on the edge of where I ink blended, so I get a nice crossover, and it's not all contained in there. So it helps soften the edge of that out, but then brings my focus kind of in towards here. And then we'll move this one a little bit more towards the flower inside, keeping his wings so they flap just a little bit on him. We lift this side up. And there you have a very simple, very bright, beautiful card. Look at the colors pop off of that from those butterflies. Is that not fantastic? So, whoops. Let me just hold this up here. Good focus on that. Look at how beautiful that is, and it's such a simple card to do. All right. let's head on up to my face cam, get back in camera view. I had to stand up to assemble all that. Thank you everyone so much for hanging with me today. Here's what I want you to do. I hope that this card, I'll get my face out of focus, just encourages you to get out something simple that makes you happy and just gives you time to focus on a little project that's easy, no brainer, no hard technique. Just do something that makes you happy and find a stamp set that makes you happy. Today, these butterflies were just calling my name to do some watercolor with some simple techniques on it. So get something out, make something today, and just make something simple and happy. Add a sentiment to this, and I've got a beautiful card to give away. So thanks for hanging with me, and until next time, I'll see you then.